Welcome everybody to today's webinar. The topic today, optimizing software costs, how to cut software spend with Cledara. I'm Katie from the customer success team. I'm hosting today's session. And I can see from the number of people connected today that this is a very popular topic. And I think we're going to have a great conversation. Really, the goal today is that you take away some really actionable insights for managing and optimizing your software spend. And with me today to show you just how you can achieve that with Cledara, we have Marta Pons. Marta is our customer success team lead. Hi, Marta.
Hello, hi Katie, and hello everyone.
So a little bit of background on Marta. She's been with Cledara for almost 3 years. She was the founding member of the success team and has a lot of experience helping our customers get their software costs under control. Isn't that right, Marta?
It is indeed. Well, as everyone in this call probably knows, Cledara helps customers get full visibility and control over their SaaS spend. And one of the ways it does it is by helping with managing budgets and optimizing software licenses. We'll see all of this in today's webinar.
Fantastic. Looking forward to it. And we're also very excited to be joined by Christian Rasmussen. He's Cledara's very own CFO. Hi, Christian.
Hi, Katie. Excited to be here and talk to the finance community on this topic.
I think they are too. So a bit of background on Christian. Obviously has a lot of experience enabling growth and optimizing spend. His background is in both private equity and investment banking. So I think you all agree he's going to bring great perspective to the conversation today. Before we dive in, let me cover some very quick housekeeping points. The session is being recorded and we will make it available to you after the call, and you'll be able to share it with any colleagues who might not have been able to make it. And of course, we want to answer any questions that you have. So we have scheduled time for a Q&A. So please submit your questions as they come in through the Q&A section. And that's it. Let's kick it off. So Christian, I would really like to start by kind of discussing why effective software spend management is so crucial, right? Overspending can really significantly impact a company's bottom line, but it goes just beyond cost savings. Isn't that right?
Exactly, Katie. When finance teams, they have a clear view of all spend, including software spend, which for a lot of companies is their second biggest expense after the people cost. They can much better evaluate the resources needed to achieve their strategic goals, improve ROI, and reduce financial uncertainties. It's really a critical component of overall financial health for most companies. And we know that SaaS costs are growing, both based on our data and our own experience when we buy and renew software subscriptions. The businesses are becoming more digitized, their reliance on software continues to grow, and it's essential to have an overview of the current and also about the planned software spend on an ongoing basis. And therefore, yes, it is a big advantage having regular reviews with your teams about the software costs.
So what's really the difference between maybe good software management and poor software management, especially when it comes to wanting to grow a business?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, ensuring that there's a good return on all software investments is essential for both, I would say, new, but also for existing software spend. So every time there is a renewal, very important to measure whether are we contributing towards the overall strategic objectives for the company with the software subscriptions that we have. It's also very important to signal to external investors that spend is under control. Having cost overrun due to insufficient planning and analysis up front, it is a red flag. And this means that having software cost under control can help facilitate new funding to the company by proving that spend is being analyzed and evaluated on a continuous basis.
Okay, so what should a finance team be looking at when it comes to software costs?
So we look at every single piece of software, and not all software spend has an immediate return. So a company needs some basic tools like an HR tool, CRM, and accounting software that do not have a clear ROI as they're necessary to run the business. But when you, for example, add a software tool to enable the sales team to make outbound calls more efficiently, we would expect to see a positive ROI an impact on their KPIs that would result in additional high quality demos being booked, and more deals being won as a result of this. And for other teams, it could be different things. It could be looking at how do we save more time or how do we become more efficient. So when exploring a new tool, ask the individual teams to think about this ROI up front. We here at Cledara, we have implemented this as part of the procurement flow. So when someone requests a new software, they answer a series of questions that gets them thinking about cost and the expected return. And this ensures that team managers, they have a very clear rationale and think about the benefit to the business every time they make a request for a new piece of software. If we expect these tools to increase productivity, it's important that we understand how and what are the growth, cost, and time-saving benefits. And by having this laid out from the start, we can have more productive conversations when it comes to whether or not the specific tool is helping us achieve these objectives.
Okay, and so maybe you could outline some of the benefits of this to the organization as a whole of this approach.
Yeah, the main ones to focus on are one we just touched upon, that is the return to the organization. And another very important one is risk mitigation. And this is a key part that we know what are we getting ourselves into. I mean, how many people here on this call have found themselves stuck paying for something that isn't working as expected and where it's very difficult to get out of the contract? And in addition, we have frequent follow-ups to ensure people in the teams are actually using the software on an ongoing basis and avoid having several software tools doing the same thing. We will touch upon these areas in the demos in a bit. And for many software tools, we see a tendency that vendors, they try to lock customers in for 2 or 3 year contracts. And we want to ensure we know exactly what we're signing up to. Many companies, they will not offer monthly or anything less than 1 year contracts up front, but they're often willing to negotiate on this if they're being pushed a bit. And we have therefore incorporated guidelines here at Cledara in the approval process, as it's often the individual teams that are negotiating the contracts, and these points are good reminders to use in the negotiation process. Other guidelines include cancellation, renewal terms, evaluate whether there's any usage-based pricing included in the contract, and also ensuring that the agreed specifications are included in the contract in case the vendor suddenly changes the features included in the product. In addition to this, we collaborate internally on the security aspects. So we allow the internal IT team to get ahead and approve the software tool before the contract is signed. And this is to ensure that the tool meets our security requirements and is safe to use as soon as the contract is signed.
So this sounds like a really great way to approach new tools coming in. How would you advise our team, how teams should approach optimizing existing software costs?
For existing software costs and renewals, it's key to create this accountability in the individual teams and to have a reliable process to be able to evaluate this on an ongoing basis. So to summarize this, is really about what tools are essential, what are top priority to meet our immediate or long-term challenges, and what software is needed to explore new opportunities. I mean, we always want to experiment with new tools. We want to see what can give us that competitive advantage. And then also look at what did the team spend last year on software and what is realistic in the upcoming year. Duplicate software, we touched upon. Another point here is to look at other software providers. So when some software tool is up for renewal, have a look at other providers doing something similar. Is there a better product out there? Is there a cheaper product out there? And getting to the price of the software, in a little bit, we will show a demo of how to use benchmarking data to ensure that you get the best price possible for the tool you're using. Then in terms of cancellation features, make sure you can get out of the contract. Make sure if you enter into a multi-year contract that you can either get out or you know what the planned price increases are, and don't leave it up to the vendor to just let you roll in to a new contract without you being advised in advance. And I would say, lastly, look at your hiring plans. Ensure that the number of required seats are included in the contract, and there are no extra high cost of adding additional users. And then regarding renewals, it's great help getting reminded about the renewal date in advance. It's a perfect time to evaluate the ROI, renegotiate, or cancel the subscription if necessary. And no one wants to be hit with an unexpected cost for something they don't need, or as I said before, automatically roll into something with a higher price. So anticipating big annual software renewals over the coming months, that's really key to optimize cash flow management.
Really great insights there, Christian. I think everyone here agrees that finance is an integral part of the business. So how do you go about building up a team that's seen as a partner to other business units?
Yeah, here it's important to emphasize that finance is not just about controlling cost. It's about enabling growth throughout the organization and not micromanaging every single expense. And what we try to do is, by fostering a collaborative environment, as you mentioned, Katie, finance helps other departments understand the financial impact of their software choices and ensure alignment with the company's goals. So the way we encourage this is through yearly budgets split into months with each team, and then give the individual teams the responsibility to manage the budgets and make amendments along the way to optimize the ROI, because things will change during the year and amendments, they often have to be made. But if you set the groundwork by asking those questions in the procurement process already, this is much easier to evaluate and improve when needed. So really put accountability on the teams by having regular check-ins as well. We do monthly KPI checkups with all departments. And here we assess whether the specific tools are helping achieve the expected goals. It's very difficult for the finance team to be an expert in all software tools used throughout the organization and to know exactly to what extent they're helping the teams achieve their goals. This is where we have the individual teams. They are the experts, and we believe that they are making the right decisions with the guidance up front and then the follow-up on their KPIs. So also, we want to allow teams to buy new software tools and experiment. We want them to be innovative and really think about how can they make the business grow. So this way, Katie, to answer your question, the finance team is an enabler here instead of a blocker, and provides a framework to help assess the return and think about impact on the overall business.
So it sounds like the focus isn't necessarily all on just the cost or how many tools a team should have, but it's really kind of changing their focus to be about the expected output. Is that a good summary?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not about finance approving each tool. It's about helping each team contribute towards getting the output that we want as a firm. And if you use the tools in Cledara, you don't need to micromanage. We make a big effort to empower the individual teams to make data-driven decisions on their own. And by using the Cledara platform, that gives you a very detailed overview of all your subscriptions and allows you to dig in when something is flagged, such as low usage, or when costs have creeped up, or when a renewal is approaching. And we'll get into those features in the demos in a moment.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Christian. I can see we've got some questions coming in already, so we'll have time to get into them in the Q&A. Just a reminder, if you do have a question, pop it in the Q&A section now. Okay, so we have 4 features that we want to show you today that really enable those conversations. They allow finance to take that role that, Christian, you've been speaking about, of kind of getting the oversight, but supporting managers to be maybe more autonomous and more responsible for their costs and the related returns. So Marta, you've helped many customers, some of them on the call today, set up Cledara and be that partner to the business. So could you take us through the first feature that we wanted to talk about today, which is benchmarks?
Yes, of course, I would love to. So one of the tools available to finance teams is benchmarking data. by comparing your software spend to customers of a similar size, and when we say similar size, we mean with a similar headcount, what you can identify is areas of overspend and opportunities for optimization. And that's what this feature enables you to do. So let me show you how this looks like by sharing my screen. There you go. So let's check an application in Cledara. Let's go for Pipedrive, for example. Oh, and can someone confirm that you can see my screen correctly? Yes, fantastic. Thank you so much. So when I open the application and head to benchmarks and negotiation, the first thing I see is our estimated spend on this tool this year. This data comes from the spend and budget data that is in the platform. And right below, the next thing I see is a recommendation. Based on our company's headcount, in this case, we should be paying a significantly lower price for this tool, something more between 3,700 and 11,000 pounds per year. Okay, luckily this is only demo data, so don't worry, Christian. Things are under control here. This is, of course, really useful information. And okay, how is this number calculated? Well, I'm really glad you asked that. This is the result of the data we have from the more than 1,000 companies that trust in us to manage their software through Cledara. With this information, we are able to build an estimation of how much a company of this size commonly spends into Pipedrive in this case. And not only this, we are also able to provide these insights on companies of different sizes by simply applying this filter here.
That's fantastic, Marta. So once you've got this information, what's the best way to act on it?
Well, in this case, we might want to negotiate with the provider, right? And get a better deal. So for that, we have this negotiation kit that you can see here on the right. There is a section where you can see the different data points we can use to do so. And we're not talking only about spend data, but also on how much the tool is used in the company. And also it suggests us some alternative applications we might want to explore. Because as Christian mentioned before, when we are up to renewal, it's a best practice to explore the market and see if there are any better options out there. And then in the end, what we can see is the negotiation co-pilot. This is our first AI-powered feature that will help us by providing an email template we can simply take and use directly in our negotiation. And hopefully by using this, we'll get a better deal.
That's great. I think it's easier to go into a negotiation if you know where you are on that spectrum and know that there's some potential room on the price, a really important kind of data point to have. The second feature that we wanted to highlight today was insights. So yeah, would you walk us through the insights feature and how that can help especially finance teams know where to focus and see those optimization opportunities?
Yes, of course. So I think we will all agree in that data is great. And once you have the data, the next step is to act on it. So for that, teams need a quick way to highlight where there are the opportunities that they can catch on. So Insights does exactly this. At the beginning of each month, you'll see spend optimization opportunities. These come from duplicated tools. So when we have several subscriptions for one single tool, then similar tools that are being used for the same purpose. So therefore, in here, we do see opportunities to potentially consolidate all these different tasks into one single tool. Tools where usage is low, and it also highlights price increases. So also mentioned by Christian before, in order to avoid rolling in automatically into a higher price subscription, this insights feature will let us know whenever a price for a subscription has increased, therefore allows team to quickly act on it. And what is driving this data? Well, we look into two elements in order to put all of this together. One is usage and the other one is spend. Which brings us to the next thing I wanted to show you, the third feature, Engage. Today we'll focus on one part of Engage, which is the provider section. Christian mentioned about the importance of regularly asking the team to assess the return of investment of the tools they are buying. So one piece of information to take into consideration is if that tool is being used or not, right? So as we saw, Insights will highlight software with low usage, which will allow you to focus first on those tools. This data is built up through through our Cledara 𝐂𝐅𝐎 browser extension, which some of the users I see connected in the call are already enjoying the benefits of, and looks at the number of times a tool is accessed. So let's take an example. If I look at SalesLoft, we can see a great indication that this is being used across the team, given the 86% usage. That 86% that we see here means that out of the 39 users ever having access to this tool, 24 of them have logged in the last 30 days. Pretty high percentage, I would say. On the other hand, if we look at another example, let's take, for example, Monday, you can see that this is on the opposite side of the spectrum. It seems like it's not getting a lot of use. So in this case, we would say, Christian, you may want to speak with Victor to really understand, because Victor is the owner of that particular tool, to understand if this tool is still needed in the company. So as you can see, this is a piece of the picture and supports those discussions around the ROI of software. It is also great information to have when it comes to the renewal of contracts, something else that you, Christian, touched on earlier. As you can see, with the combination of benchmarks data and usage data, you are, of course, in a better position to evaluate that return of investment and negotiate renewals or decide whether or not you should be looking at another tool. So basically, I would summarize it in that through Cledara, finance teams enable this conversation.
Yeah, exactly. And one final piece of data is obviously the actual kind of cost. And that, I think, brings us to the last feature we really wanted to show you today, and that's the report section. Could you take us through that one as well?
Yes, exactly. So the final feature, as you very well said, Katie, I see customers getting value from, and this speaks to the accountability that Christian mentioned, giving responsibility to team managers to manage their software costs, is reports. So I do believe that the report is a really powerful section, as it shows us at a glance two really important things. First one is how the different teams tracking against their budgets. And then it also shows us the breakdown of cost per team and tool month-over-month cost, which helps us identify spend peaks, as for example, we could see here an example in October, right? Mm-hmm. So Christian, you spoke before on collaboration. So Cledara is a great way to give team managers oversight without finance losing control, which is a really key point here. If we click, for example, on any of the teams, this will take us to each individual team's page, where a manager can clearly see the team members, but also their software stack, so the different software tools they use to do their job, how they are tracking against their budget, as well as the historical spend, and which tools are impacting their budget the most. So another piece of information that contributes to building this picture of the return of investment and enabling decisions. And that's it. Okay, so I've worked with many of our customers, some on the call today, as we were saying before, to incorporate those tools into their workflows. But if anyone in the call wants to explore these features in more detail, please let us know in the chat, using the Q&A section today, or email us directly at success@cledara.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Marta. Okay, so we've got time. We promised you a Q&A, and we do have some time for that. So we have had some questions come in. So Christian, I think the first one is for you, and it's really about kind of the importance of sticking to the budget. So if you do kind of go off track, what are some of the consequences perhaps of going off budget?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, allocating resources efficiently is key to running a healthy organization. And if the budget is getting off track, it's very important to analyze the reasons quickly. Is there a change in scope? Is there a change in usage? Are there any other justification that can be looked upon? Or is it simply that the budget needs to be managed better? So a way to avoid this is really to have frequent check-ins and get the budget back on track. And then, if needed, renegotiate the contract if what we signed up to is no longer appropriate. And yeah, that's really it on that.
Okay, thank you. And then a second question here is a more about the procurement flow. So someone's asking, would you mind kind of sharing what kind of questions you ask in that procurement flow when people are signing up for software?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we start with a question about what is the return for the organization? With strategic goals, does the software help improve? And what productivity improvements are we expecting to see? And then we go through, is it possible to have a pilot test? Is it probably possible to have like a monthly subscription to start before we go into a longer term contract? Go through the payment terms, go through the cancellation terms, and then really see, okay, how long do we have to sign up for this? And what would be the impact? And by doing that, look at alternative software tools as well. So we ask, have you looked at other software tools? Do we know that the price is right for what is being offered here? And then I'll say that the last part we ask is regarding security. So the question for IT to be able to approve the software tool as soon as the contract is signed.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Christian. I think maybe we're coming up on time here. There's a couple of questions that have come in that are a little bit geared towards the kind of product questions. So what we'll do is we'll take them offline and we'll make sure we get back to everybody individually on any questions you've submitted and we haven't had a chance to answer here today. So I think if we can, there's no more questions to kind of come in on for Christian. We'll start wrapping it up. Really, maybe I just wanted to take a moment to summarize maybe what we've heard today, Christian, and what maybe the key takeaways for people are. So I'd say there's kind of four main things that you've touched on. It's about asking the right questions up front in that procurement process. It's a great way to get your managers, get your department heads already thinking about the impact of the software that they're buying has. And then two, like obviously cost is important, right? But having all that context and teams knowing what the expected outcome is will help you with that assessment down the line. So when you're assessing that continued cost, having all that upfront work done is going to help you kind of do that evaluation. And then I'd say you mentioned finance as a partner, right? So finance can provide this framework, and by having the data and asking the right questions, finance can kind of help teams or enable teams to make good decisions. And I think finally what we're seeing is that finance need tools too. They need tools like Cledara, and Cledara does allow teams to kind of have that autonomy, allows finance to have that oversight and control while giving teams autonomy to make those decisions. Is that a good summary, Christian? Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
No, thank you, Katie. That's a great summary. Thanks.
Well, thank you both. Thanks to Christian and Marta for joining us today. Thank you so much, everyone who connected. The time's just absolutely flown by. If you have any other questions for myself, for Marta, for Christian, just again, that email address, success@cledara.com. So all that's left for me to do is to say have a great rest of the afternoon, and thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.